Good evening. I would like to call the October 8, 2018 Bellbrook City Council meeting to order. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mr. Greenwood?
Here.
Mr. McGill?
Here.
Mrs. Middlestetter? Here. Mayor Baird?
Here. And we do have, I wonder, do we need to go through again? We did have an executive session, so we actually technically called the city council meeting to order a little while ago. Since we've already went through this, I don't think we have to do it again. We do have three members of city council not here this evening, and we did excuse them. And we won't go into all the reasons, but hopefully they'll be here at the next meeting. Formal approval of the regular meeting minutes of September 24, 2018. Does any member on council have any corrections or additions to the regular city council meeting minutes of our last meeting?
None.
Seeing none, the minutes are approved as written. Mayor's announcements. We have a few this evening. We have a few special guests. First is Karen Peterball. Did I get it right? With the Greene County Council of Aging. Would you like to please come up?
Well, thank you for allowing me to be here. I am Karen Peterbaugh, the Director of the Greene County Council on Aging. And with everything going on in the community right now, we thought it was a good time to come back and remind the community what the Council on Aging does for Bellbrook and, well, all Greene County seniors, but definitely Bellbrook. The Council on Aging, we're not a part of the county, we're a not-for-profit organization, and we've been around for many, many, many years, but we are funded by the Senior Services Levy. And in Bellbrook, one of the things that we're most pleased with is we have a wonderful senior center. We partner with the school system to have the old library in the former middle school, and that's our space that we get to use. And I know some of you I've seen recently at a chamber function that we host every year. And the senior center continues to grow. It's open to anybody, 50 and better. We don't card anybody though, so that's not an issue. And we have a variety of programs and activities that go on. We do have a number of folks from the Centerville area and Beaver Creek that come and join in the festivities. But if you don't have this, I know some of you get the newsletter. We do have a newsletter that we put out every other month for the senior center that has the calendar and all the different activities. Our most popular activities include, we do a yoga every Friday, and 9 months out of the year on Monday as well. We have Tai Chi, and all of our programs are at no cost. Again, the levy provides the funding to support the center. It costs us about just over $13,000 a year to operate the center, so it's fairly efficient in cost, but again, part of that is because of our partnership with the schools. So the exercise piece is very important. We have a very fit community here, and they want to stay that way. We have a game afternoon where mahjong and all sorts of games that are played. People just want to come together and socialize. And then Friday night, we continue at 6 o'clock to have a pretty good-sized group of euchre players that actually are former Burma pulled together decades ago, and we continue that, not just in her honor, but if we stopped it, we'd probably be in big trouble. So we have open hours where people can come in and do whatever activities, and our lunch and learns have actually picked up as well, providing information on a lot of topics, whether it be fall prevention or diabetes or watersheds or whatever's important at the time. So we're really pleased with that. The other thing that we do for all Greene County residents, though they're seniors, is our Partners in Care program. We provide services to those who need a little bit of help, and it's called Partners in Care. We call it PIC. And so seniors, some seniors have home-delivered meals, emergency response systems, help with some housekeeping, maybe bathing, depending on the situation. And it's a little bit of help. Our average cost is $277 a month, which is very, very efficient. We serve about 1,100 seniors a month countywide, and right now we have 59 seniors in the Bellbrook community that are receiving services. So we do a lot. We have a lot of educational programs for caregivers and general community members, but it's just important for us to have a presence here, and we really appreciate the support the community has given us, and hope to stay around for a long time. And then obviously the November election does include our renewal of our levy. Obviously, there's no increase in taxes, and we are hopeful that the community will continue to support our efforts. And we welcome folks to come anytime. To get our newsletter, just call the office or go on the website, and we'll get that out to you on a regular basis for the senior center as well as the councils. And if you ever have any questions, we encourage people to call, send us emails, whatever we can do to help support. I was at a festival this weekend, and people go, "Oh, aging." It's like, well, we're all doing it. Our job is just to help people do it as best they can. And so with the community's help, we will continue to do that. Any questions or anything you've heard that maybe I should be aware of?
Well, thank you very much. It is great to have a facility up there. I've been to,
Yes.
I think, all of the chamber meetings that we've had there. I know we've done at least a couple of the past year. I think we typically have one meeting there. So it's great to keep people active, and it definitely is an asset to have that right in our community.
And just one plug, if I can, but many of you know someone who's 65 or better, which means they are most likely on Medicare, and open enrollment starts Monday. And it's just critical for everybody, no matter how pleased you might be with your plans, to have those reviewed, because plans change. And we had a situation this week where a senior called in, and she said, "I just want to keep my plan. I'm having some health issues. My husband's in rehab." And we said, well, we'll run the numbers for you, and if she stayed with the plan that she has now for next year, it would cost her over $33,000 instead of $3,800, a plan that she's switching to. So it's just important, very important. So, all right. Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And moving on, we have one more special guest this evening, Beth Rubin, Greene County Department of Job and Family Services.
Thank you for letting me come tonight and talk about our levy, which is the Children's Services Levy. My name is Beth Rubin, and I'm the Director of the Greene County Department of Job and Family Services. Our agency covers a wide variety of programs, including adult protective services, public assistance, child support, workforce development, and protective children's services. And 1 in 4 Ohioans is connected in some fashion with our office in a year's time, whether they're looking for a job, or they're navigating nursing home care for a loved one, or they're calling about a vulnerable neighbor. Our work impacts families, businesses, the local economy, and the community as a whole. But today I'm here specifically to tell you a little bit about children's services and our renewal levy that's on the ballot, which is issue 6. It's no increase in taxes. We are designated by law to provide for the care, protection, and placement of abused, neglected, and dependent children. We work to protect children from abuse and neglect through investigations, safety assessments, but we also do foster care, adoption, kinship care, independent living programs for children who don't have other resources or family to help them. We recently received reaccreditation, so we are meeting the highest standards in our field for professionalism, and that's something that we're proud of. Just a few figures about what we did in 2017. We served over 2,000 children through prevention, protection, placement, and permanency programs. We placed 228 children, and 40 were reunified with their families subsequent to placement. Another 33 children we were able to place in the custody of other family members rather than their parents subsequent to placement. And we completed a total of 15 adoptions last year. We currently have 144 children in the agency's custody, which is a very high number. It's actually the highest that I've ever seen it. 32 of those children are in our permanent custody, which means they've been with us for 2 years or longer. Their parents no longer have any parental rights whatsoever, and we're seeking permanent placements for those children. 5 are in adoptive placements awaiting finalization right now, and 27 children are available for adoption. A lot of times those end up being teenagers with a lot of issues and problems, and it is difficult to find placement for them. So while Job and Family Services as a whole relies on state and federal funds to run the majority of our programs, Children's Services is different. The local levy dollars that we have represent 63% of our operating budget for Children's Services. And the levy dollars only go for Children's Services. They don't fund any other part of the agency. It's specifically for the protection of children. We need those local levy dollars also to access state and federal funds through matching. So I think I mentioned, if I didn't, it's a 1.5 mil. It's for 5 years. It's issue 6. And, I just wanted to get the message across that child abuse and neglect affect everyone in the community. We need to act now to maintain current programs that keep our community's most vulnerable citizens, our children, safe. we appreciate the community's support, and I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Any questions on council?
You handle the ERISA issues for the county, for children?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay.
Especially with the current opioid issues and all those, I'm sure that's having an impact
It's
on the
having-
numbers.
It's having a huge impact. The opioid crisis is absolutely, the children are often the silent victims of this when they no longer have parents or family members to care for them. But I do want to be clear that it is not just opioids. Right now, methamphetamines is through the roof. We're seeing all kinds of drug and continued alcohol use and violence and mental health issues, and it runs the gamut of issues. But absolutely, the drug crisis has affected us enormously.
Would you say drugs are probably the biggest issue?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions on council?
No.
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for coming out. Speaking of National Domestic Violence Awareness Month is also this month. It just happens to coincide with our election. We do have a proclamation this evening, a proclamation for October Domestic Violence Month. National Domestic Violence Awareness Month is October 2018, whereas all citizens of Greene County have a right to live in their homes free from violence or fear of violence, and whereas the problem of domestic violence requires a collective community response to ensure safety for victims, accountability for batterers, and safe futures for their children. And whereas reduction of domestic violence in Greene County improves the quality of life for all of our families and individuals. Now therefore, I, Robert Baird, as mayor of the city of Bellbrook, in recognition of the perseverant work done by Greene County Consortium of Domestic Violence, which consists of more than 85 representatives from the Greene County Law Enforcement, Criminal Justice, Medical, Human Services, Victim Advocacy, Batterer Intervention, and other groups, do hereby proclaim October 2018 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and urge all citizens to actively participate in activities sponsored by the Greene County Consortium on Domestic Violence and Family Violence Prevention Center of Greene County, which encourage all Greene County residents to work toward the elimination of interpersonal violence. So it's an important thing. This happens in all communities. It happens in Bellbrook, and this is a proclamation to recognize that and hopefully get people to understand that. And I know our law enforcement have to deal with it here in the city of Bellbrook as well.
I'd like to add something if I may.
And
That Family Violence Prevention Center in Greene County has been chosen by the Allstate Foundation to be one of the participants in the Purple Purse Challenge. Only 6 organizations in each state are awarded this honor, and we got it this year to do, and it's a purse that is designed by a famous person. In this year, it's Serena Williams, and different members of the board and supporters of the organization carry this purse around from place to place and talk about it, and encourage people to go to the website and support them with donations to support their activities. So that's just an extra boost on top of the proclamation to make people aware. And again, it's also a nonprofit organization. They don't have levies to support this. It's grants and from different foundations. There are grants from the government to support the housing issue part of it, but it's a nonprofit, so they depend greatly on donors and supporters.
it's good to have a facility that's actually a secure facility.
Yeah, it's a
with
secure
protection.
facility.
So it's nice to have a place where, especially in a county that's not a huge county,
Yeah, there's
to have that, so.
32 residents, I
Yep.
think, right now in the house with some people waiting.
Yep. Anything else on that? Moving on, we have no public hearings of ordinances, no introductions of ordinances. We have 2 very important resolutions this evening. Bob. Resolution 2018-FF, a resolution honoring retiring police officer Robert Loudermilk. I guess I'm reading this one. That's unusual. Gotta make sure I have the right one, since I usually don't read these. A resolution honoring retiring police officer Robert Bob Loudermilk. Whereas Officer Loudermilk has served with the city of Bellbrook as a police officer since November 2nd, 1985, and worked for the department proudly for nearly 33 years. And whereas Officer Loudermilk has worked in various roles and functions within the Bellbrook Police Department, such as DARE officer, first line supervisor, defensive tactics instructor, which includes ASP, handcuffing, pepper spray, evidence technician, interview, interrogation specialist, traffic crash investigator, patrol stops instructor, BAC operator, assume that's blood alcohol,
It's political.
bike patrol officer, police chaplain liaison, and providing various other patrol functions and training. And whereas Officer Loudermilk has dutiful and can't speak tonight, concisely in the performance of his duties, and was dedicated and diligent in helping others in time of need, and was awarded special recognition as such by winning the Hometown Hero Award in 2016. Now therefore, the City of Bellbrook hereby resolves, Section 1, that the Mayor of City Council wish to formally acknowledge Officer Loudermilk's dedication to the performance of his duties and responsibilities in all of his endeavors, and recognize his many contributions to the local community during his tenure. That this resolution shall take effect and be enforced forthwith. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number 2018-FF?
Mayor, you have a motion to adopt. the
May I have a
resolution.
I'll
second?
second it.
And roll call.
Mr. Greenwood,
Yes.
Mr. McGill,
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter.
Yes.
Mayor Baird.
Yes. Police Chief, would you have a couple things to say, please?
Now, for those who know me, know I'm a man of few words. But, just a few things about Bob. When I first came here, he was an ardent supporter of me and what I was doing, so I just want to say thank you to Bob for his help. When you go through the town and we do the things we do, everybody stops us and asks, Bob, is he still working here? Is he taught me something, 20 years ago, or he helped me do something, 15, 25 years ago. And it's just been a pleasure to have him here working with us, and it's been great. I can tell you, working 33 years in law enforcement's not easy. So, well done, sir. So, I have a couple things. Bob, if you'd like to come up, please. I'd like to present to Officer Loudermilk a plaque recognizing his time here with the City of Bellbrook Police Department. And if he will notice, the number of stars here, 6 stars. It's important to him. It recognizes the number of times and years that he's been here and served with us. In addition, I have an officer badge for Officer Loudermilk that has retired on the top of it. So very important, it's a keepsake for all of us that get a chance to earn that. So,
Yeah.
to you, sir. Floor is yours.
I was going to draw the line if he said he went back 40 years to find things. Well, I had a speech, and I pulled it out, and I realized either Lieutenant Carmen or Sergeant Mark White stole my speech. I just want to say it's been a great ride. I've enjoyed it. Words can't express how much I have enjoyed it. Living in the city of Bellbrook has been a wonderful experience for me. We moved here in 1989, I think it was. No, I'm sorry, 84. And my son, my daughter, graduated from Bellbrook High School. I had the privilege of being involved in the graduation program there, even to the point of being able to give my son and my daughter their diploma when they graduated. How cool is that? It was pretty cool. It's only in Bellbrook you find people that are so warm and so friendly and so kind, and everybody in the city of Bellbrook. I consider everybody important. think about Forrest Greenwood running for council. Run, Forrest, run. How cool is that? One of my favorite movies is Forrest Gump, you know. That's all I got to say about that. When I started here, Elaine's husband was a council person, a very fine gentleman. So I've seen a lot of changes. I've worked for 4 police chiefs, 3 different city managers, and a host of different council people who have all been very kind and generous to me and to my other brothers and sisters in blue. Someone said a few moments ago I had the opportunity to do DARE, teach DARE. I did for 10 years. And Lexi Wilson is one of my former DARE students who is now a sworn officer with the city of Bellbrook.
Still have my essay too.
So there you go. I just want to say thank you for all that you have done for the police department, and thank you for all that you have done for me. Chief Doherty, thank you, sir. And all of these guys and ladies I'm going to miss. I love them dearly. Thank you. One last thing. Please continue to pray for Sergeant Brian Mead, a very fine man that important to this department. Just remember him in prayer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Loudmouth. Don't go too far because you're going to have to come back up here. Bob, I would just like to personally thank you for all your years of service. You have been one of those people that I think all the citizens greatly appreciate, and I've never heard one person in the city of Bellbrook ever say anything bad about Bob Loudmouth. So thank you very much for your service and all your dedication to the city of Bellbrook. Eddie?
I'd like to read a few sentences I wrote. Officer Loudermilk's always been someone you can depend on. Officer Loudermilk has had a long, successful career as a police officer for the city of Bellbrook spanning over 3 decades. His dedicated service has improved the quality of life and our safety. Officer Loudermilk had a knack engaging with people whom were having a behavior problem or were breaking the law. After he engaged the situation, the suspect would calm down and the situation was resolved on the spot, or he gained respect of the suspect and the suspect complied with his orders. I assume this ability came natural, or maybe it was part of the package along with his big heart and his bravery. Officer Loudermilk has brought great credit to himself and the city of Bellbrook. Officer Loudermilk, thank you for your service and enjoy your retirement.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. That's all I have.
I'd like to say a couple things to you, Bob. When I first came to town here 14 years ago, 2 people that I met first were yourself and Mr. Williams, I believe, is who it was. But in any event, you're truly a professional, and that means a lot. If I was still on the police department, I would want you as a training officer, because of the way that you handle professionally the issues at hand of interrogating people, finding out who's done what in a situation, and getting to the bottom line of your craft. And you're an asset to this city that we're going to lose. And it pains me to see that's happening right now. But I know that you need to go to retirement.
You've always been there. It's not going to look right to not see you out there. Thank you so much for your dedicated service. And I, too, have never, ever heard a word from anyone against your performance and you personally. So thank you. Thank you.
Don't go too far. We have one more resolution. Resolution 2018-GG. Mr. Greenwood.
Thank you, Mayor, for this privilege. Resolution number 2018-GG, a resolution presenting Officer Robert Loudermilk with his service weapon and providing for the release of claims relating to said weapon. Whereas Officer Loudermilk will retire from his position on October 11, 2018, and whereas the mayor and the city council desire to honor him for his service by carrying on the tradition of awarding a retired officer with his or her service weapon and badge. Now therefore, the city of Bellbrook hereby resolves, Section 1, that the ownership of a Sig Sauer Model P226 40 caliber handgun, serial number U836155, be transferred from the city of Bellbrook to Robert Loudermilk upon the occasion of his full service retirement and upon the receipt of a release of claims, Exhibit A, relating to the transfer, possession, or use of this former service weapon. Section 2, that Robert Loudermilk shall further be honored for his service with the presentation of his police officer's badge, and it is with great appreciation for his service to the citizens of the city of Bellbrook that we present his badge and service weapon to him. Section 3, that this resolution shall take effect and be enforced forthwith.
Mr. Rubel?
Do we need a second?
Need a motion?
Oh, yeah, when we get up there. May I have a motion to adopt resolution 2018-GG?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 2018-GG.
May I have a second?
Second.
And roll call.
Mr. Greenwood?
Yes.
Mr. McGill?
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter?
Yes.
Mayor Baird?
Yes. Mr. Rubel?
Thank you. City Manager, Mayor, Councilman. Officer Loudermilk, we would like to present you with your service weapon that you currently have been carrying many years here in the city of Bellbrook. This weapon represents what has brought you safety for yourself and also the safety of others and the citizens of Bellbrook. Please accept this as a token of our appreciation from not only the city of Bellbrook, but also your fraternal brothers and sisters in blue.
Thank you very much for your service, Bob. Moving on. City Manager's report.
Okay, just a few things. We just completed the interviews for fire lieutenant and successfully hired John Nickerson and promoted him into that position. He will be at the next meeting to be sworn in as our next fire lieutenant. And we have also posted another full-time internal position to fill the vacancy created by John, so we will keep you posted on that. We have also filled the position of Administrative Assistant Finance, which was vacated by Jamie Kenyon, who is also the Clerk of Council. Melissa Jones, who was previously our Code Enforcement Officer, has accepted the position, and we are still continuing to seek our next Clerk of Council. And I met with downtown representatives from Tip City and Piqua, who are both Main Street designated cities, to just kind of get to know their experiences with Heritage Ohio and being a downtown Main Street program member. And so that was quite interesting. I also attended a seminar on PACE financing. So Ohio PACE is a nonprofit that connects commercial property owners and builders with lenders to finance energy efficient improvements. So what this does is somebody can apply to have their roof replaced, their HVAC system replaced, or a new build, have part of that funded, and the financing for that would be given to them by a lender and then applied as an assessment to their property taxes. So it actually goes off of their balance sheet, and that debt doesn't appear in that fashion. So it goes onto their special assessment for their property taxes, and it actually carries through with the property as well. So it's a great economic development tool for anybody that might need assistance in making energy improvements. So we've got a lot of older buildings, so that's a great tool to take your business to the next step in terms of bringing up for energy efficiency. We have comprehensive plan updates still going on. We are really starting the home stretch here, though. So Devin Shoemaker of Greene County Regional Planning has taken over in that and leading the charge in that. And we've got a planning board meeting this Thursday at 6 p.m. in here where the planning board itself is going to start talking about visioning ahead of the next big meeting, which is going to be the community input meeting, November 5th at 7 p.m. It's actually going to be at the community center on Washington Mill inside the Bellbrook Sugar Creek Park District offices. So everybody is welcome to attend that meeting. It's going to be really important to gather as much community input as we can to see where everybody wants to see Bellbrook go into the future. So we'll have different stations set up, so it's going to be very interactive. It's not going to be just, you know, a desk situation in an audience. So it's going to be very interactive, and it's going to be a great way for people to get their input out there. So please mark your calendars, November 5th, 7 p.m., Community Center. And yes, I will be going to the Heritage Ohio Conference, which focuses on historic preservation and downtown revitalization. It's in Cleveland, October 21st to the 24th. Our planning board chair, Dr. Dave Van Veldhuizen, is going to be going, and then Mr. McGill is also going to go. So we've got representatives from planning board, council, and then myself, so I'm really excited for that. So with that being said, our next council meeting will be on October 29th. So we're going to have to shift it ahead of Monday because of that. So that's it for me.
Any questions for our city manager? PACE program, I was on that board for a while. I'm not sure, so it's a little complicated, but it is a good program. Typically, the benefits and cost savings should actually pay for the additional taxes that would be levied on the house. So it is a good program. Usually they're pretty large projects, so if they're going to be smaller ones, they'd have to group them together, and then typically it's going to go through the Port Authority for financing, unless they've got someone else to do it now. So, but it's a good program. Any questions for our city manager? Okay. Committee report, service, safety.
I just have a few things, Mayor. Fire department open house tomorrow between 6 and 8. Some of the activities are an actual burning house. It's a small building. Also be cutting up some cars. Care flight will land about 6 o'clock. The K through 5 coloring contest will be judged about 5:30. There'll be something there for everyone, young and old. It's a good time. Our fire department is implementing new staff and building a department that will serve the city's needs. These upgrades are possible because the voters support the levies. Thank you, voters and supporters of the fire department. The police department has been training and upgrading personnel as well due to personnel changes. So it's been a busy year basically for the whole city with personnel. It's kind of not a usual thing, but everything's working good, so that's all I have.
Finance and audit, we do not have either this evening. Community affairs?
The only thing is to remind people of Halloween in the park coming up. I believe it's October 22nd?
The 20th.
20th? It's that Saturday. Okay. So.
That's it for committee reports. Old business, there's none. New business, so we are looking for a clerk of courts. If anyone is interested, we can do that online to get the application. Jamie resigned a couple weeks ago. I want to thank her for all her service if she's watching. So thank you very much, Jamie. And we will be looking for a new clerk of council. That is one of the two positions that city council actually are in charge of hiring. One is our city manager, and the other is clerk of courts that the city council actually hires. But to do that, we need to have an interim clerk of council. And may I have a motion to appoint interim clerk of council, Melissa Dodd?
So moved.
May I have a second?
I'll
Second.
Okay.
And roll call.
Mr. Greenwood,
Yes.
Mr. McGill,
Yes.
Mrs. Middlestetter,
Yes.
Mayor Baird.
Yes. Draft resolution and grant submission to the Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission for Bridge Project.
Okay, so this was not put out in the packet ahead of time. It was earmarked, though, that this would be forthcoming. So this was emailed out to all council members, and it was at everybody's place setting today. The Miami Valley Regional Planning Commission, they solicit grant applications every year for transportation alternatives. There's two other programs as well, but the transportation alternatives program is the one that I decided would best fit the project that I selected for this. So The application is due on the 10th at 1 o'clock, so I will have to hand deliver this. So as part of the requirement, we just had to have a draft resolution in front of council. So you do have a draft resolution at your place setting, but what this is for, the project that I selected was, I drive up and down 725 Franklin Street every single day. And the bridge right there where Little Sugar Creek, that connects Little Sugar Creek and Dots, near the subway parking lot, there's no sidewalk that connects. If you take a look at the image here, you can see here on the west side, you can see right here where this sidewalk terminates into the road. So then anybody that wants to cross this bridge effectively has to go across the bridge next to traffic, and in order to get to the other side, which is this subway parking lot. And the actual formal sidewalk doesn't start up until past the building where Subway is, near the current lawnmower business. So the original proposal that I had found the last time that this was attempted was in 2009. I'm not sure if this was actually submitted, but there was a project that was going to be submitted to OPWC to build a completely independent structure or pedestrian bridge to connect these two. In 2009, the cost was $700,000. I got with the engineers, and I will tell you, IBI, or not IBI, it was, oh my goodness, it's totally slipping me right now. The engineers that we had working on this, it's totally slipping. They picked this up, they came out, they met Ryan and I, our service director. They stood with us on this bridge, we talked about it, and they said, they made the recommendation, it's wide enough, why don't we just put a sidewalk in a curb on the actual bridge? Because it's completely wide enough to do that. So what we did was we had them draw up this schematic, this overlay. What would end up happening is the guardrail would completely go away, which would aesthetically look a lot better than what it does currently. And then you can kind of see here where the sidewalk would be connected. It would go along the bridge, and then all of this white that you see would be new concrete that would tie in this existing kind of parking lot approach, and then tie into the other sidewalk. You would see that the gutter would provide a buffer along this entire south side of 725 in Franklin Street. And then this would also include a mid-block crosswalk, which would connect the dots. So what was interesting about this is the engineering firm that was taking a look at this, when they were doing the application for all of this, they noticed that in our walkability study, this very thing was mentioned, and it all kind of ties in together, and MVRPC was involved with that as well. So this project, actually, the way that the scoring is working on this, the scoring actually ended up to give us 42 points. Typically anything that had 40 points has been awarded because the TA funding isn't quite as competitive. So this this actual project, I got some new costs just this afternoon. So this total project would be $548,000 is proposed. The max amount of federal dollars that we can get through the TA project is $350,000. So that would put our match at $198,000 locally. And this project would be awarded with 2024-2025 construction. So that gives us several years to be able to save for this project. However, one additional angle that we would be able to possibly work is to get OPWC funding for our match, but we can't apply for that until we're 2 years out for construction. So if council is supportive of moving forward with this, we do have a really good chance of getting this funded, which would mean that we would have to pay just under $200,000 for our local match in 5 years. And then I would be able to go out and possibly get some of that, if not all of it, funded through OPWC. So that's my hope and that's my goal. But I think that this is it's a really necessary project. I stood out there with the engineers and Ryan on that bridge just discussing it, and it's scary. And I constantly see, I mean, it's cross-country season right now. You constantly see school-age kids running across that bridge, and it is scary. So if council is willing, I just need the go-ahead and submit the application, and then the next meeting we would have the actual formal resolution, which would just indicate our commitment to the local match, which the resolution has more money on there than what it ended up turning out to be later this afternoon. So
I think I'm definitely interested in going forward and looking at it. I think we probably need to talk to the finance committee and get some, because we don't have them here this evening. So we can talk about that if we need to do a work session before the next meeting. But I think where we're at today, depending upon the additional funding, that there would be, we just don't know that other than the matching funding. And it's,
Correct.
It is, I guess I sort of need a better understanding of, and a better drawing to figure out what we're actually doing.
it's
I sort of
basically-
get it, but I can't say 100%.
You need the prior drawings that they had on the project itself that created the standalone structure that was just south of that existing that they have right now. I would say this, I think it's a good project. I'm in favor of it. I mean, I plan to, kind of go around and move with the citizens on that issue. The one thing that I see up there right now is the fact that when you walk across that bridge, you come out into a zebra lane that is there that, just causes me some concern that an individual or a citizen of the city or someone visiting the city may get hit by a traffic car that ignores the warning signs over there that says stay off
Yeah,
the.
that you're not allowed to go
You're
around
not allowed to
waiting
go
in
around,
line.
not allowed to go around them, and I'm just afraid that that's there. So this is a great project. I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, because everything's level. There's
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
and that was I mentioned earlier when we were talking, mentioning this, that there will be trouble turning left onto Little Sugar Creek. There's increased traffic.
This is great.
I mean, we need the pedestrian sidewalks and walkways. That's every survey we ever talk to people, that's requested. But I also know that people coming home from work and in and out, turning left on Little Sugar Creek, one car holds up an entire long stretch of 725 eastbound. So I think we need to put our heads together and come up with something that would address that concern as well. But I'm totally in favor of figuring out some way to get the sidewalk across there, a
Yeah.
safe sidewalk
Yeah,
across there.
it's a reasonable plan also when you consider what we're doing with the corridor,
Yes.
725 corridor, that we can move people to either side of the street, and
Yeah.
if we're inclined to do that. So this is very
And
good, very good news.
And it'll also be interesting to see how it'll fit in our comprehensive plan and the meetings coming up too.
Yeah.
So, Forrest?
I think it's a very worthwhile project. That's probably one of the most problematic areas we have for safety.
That and kids walking down Little Sugar Creek
Yeah.
until we hopefully get
Yeah.
that
Right.
Walkway.
walkway in, so.
I don't know, what's you say you had a timing? You had to get something turned in?
November. or
This
October.
has to be,
November.
this has to be submitted to MVRPC by 1:00 on Wednesday,
Okay, once
Next
you
Wednesday.
do that,
this Wednesday.
This Wednesday, day after tomorrow.
does that allow changes if they come up? Or is that a set in stone,
Um,
has to be done this way, or once you submit it?
the overall design of the project would probably have to stay the same. We wouldn't be able to to move to a different type of option, like we wouldn't be able to change from this on-bridge sidewalk to a standalone bridge.
Okay.
And it appeared, there was a bridge engineer, there was another engineer, and it was LJB was the firm. IBI is the one that's has been on Upper Hillside, which has always been in the forefront of my mind. So it's LJB was the original engineer that worked with us. So we had a bridge engineer and we had a regular engineer, roadway engineer, and then Ryan and myself. And looking at it, this makes the most sense, and especially with cost.
Because there's just a lot of stuff going on right there. That's a,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah,
It is. But hopefully this will potentially help, and
Yeah.
keeping in mind, it's still, one has to be approved, it's still 4 years out, 5 years out.
Yep, yep.
So, all right. Moving on, open discussion, city council. Forrest, anything?
nothing, Mayor.
Moving on down the, Daryl,
No, I'm fine, glad to be back.
glad to see you back. You're looking good.
Thank you.
Nothing.
And I have nothing. Football team's doing great, so congratulations. I think it's already week 8. It's hard to imagine. With that, this is open discussion. So if anyone would like to come up, you have 5 minutes, and you need to say your name and address. Okay.
I'll go first.
My name is Stacy Turner, and my address is 3980 Locust Bend Drive. So I'm kind of here in conjunction with Megan. Megan is a Sugar Creek resident. I'm a Bellbrook resident. There is a lot of awareness currently regarding the annexation possibilities from Centerville, Beaver Creek, whatnot. Also, the influx of traffic, people coming in. Our schools are completely overcrowded. So a lot of talk of a merger is going on again. I've talked to Megan last week, Melissa, sorry, that's Megan, and just kind of wanted to get a better understanding. I know there was a merger study in 2005, one in 2010, now we're in 2018, kind of where things stand, if it's something that's going to be brought up again, and that's kind of like why we're here, is just asking these questions.
I've probably been around the longest. I'd probably give this a shot. So I don't know the years exactly, but it's been a while. 2005. So I think I've seen a lot of the Facebook stuff. So 2005. So we don't do it. The residents have to do it.
Right.
You have to pull the petitions. Part of that will be to have the merger commission study, yes or no, and then if it passes yes, and at the same time you have to elect the commission members from each community, and I can't remember if it's 7 or 8 or 6. I can't remember for sure. And then at that point, if it does pass, and that's when you start looking at the merger commission. First time, it was city voted for it, township voted against
Right.
it. Second time, go around, we both voted for it, and we did do the study. At that time, annexation stops. I don't know the Ohio Revised Code that well. I think for 3 years that no one can annex. Once that passes, no one can annex. Then you have to actually complete the study, which took a while, and there's expense to it. I can't remember. It's probably $20,000 on each side to pay for the study and all that information. The report's there. I haven't read it in a long time, so I'm sure Melissa, if you don't have it, she can give it to you.
I have it, yeah.
So the issues at that time, it actually never, I don't even think it came to council to actually vote to send it to the voters, because at the time, it was quite clear that it was going to be more expensive. And that's the issue. And some of the things typically with that are that a lot of people may or may not understand are that township does not have a lot of roads. Most of the roads are county roads.
Right.
You got to take those. You got to take over the bridges. And I can't remember all the details because it's been 9 years. And I could brush up on it. Would the residents be interested in it again? I am not sure. Clearly, people were not happy when Centerville annexed the Dilly property. There's also, of course, the potential more development out on Wilmington Pike. We were approached by the developers to annex it. We could annex it if we wanted to, but the difference is we're not Centerville. We do not have an income tax. And there's a difference between type 1 and type 2 annexations.
Right.
Type 1 annexations are the township agrees to it, and everything goes to the city, and it's in the city. type 2 annexation, which is, what's it called, the development, Costco and all that.
Oh, yeah. Cornerstone.
Cornerstone, all the property taxes are paid to Sugar Creek Township, they stay there. On addition, they have to pay Centerville's income tax, or property taxes. So in my position, and I think in general, city council, we don't want to annex, because if we would have annexed up to the high school, all those residents would pay both Bellbrook and Sugar Creek property taxes. So Centerville doesn't care as much because they want the revenue from the income tax.
Right.
So we have not been aggressive with the annexation, more from the aspect of me personally, not speaking for council. I didn't want to see one group of residents paying double taxes forever. It's not as much as you think. It's about 22% of your property tax go to the city. It's about the same for the township. 58, 59% go to the schools. The rest go to Greene County for a bunch of different things.
Right.
So that's it. Now, am I in favor of it? I don't know. I'd probably vote for it, but it's not up to us. It'll be up to the citizens of both communities to, decide to do that. And then at that point, we pretty much have to support it anyway.
So we are kind of catapulting that conversation within
Yep.
the community. We're getting a group of people together that are Bellbrook residents, and then a group of people that are together that are in Sugar Creek. We're actually having a Sugar Creek Bellbrook combined meeting in November just to discuss this, because there is a lot of talk about it, especially on social media. With our younger generation, that's unfortunately how we communicate. So there's a lot of talk of it. Also, I know living in Bellbrook, I'm just concerned with, we are landlocked. The only undeveloped land here in Bellbrook is San Souci, which is where my horses are. And nothing's happening with that. I know that for a fact. So with that being said, obviously we're going to probably have to pass a levy or institute an income tax. So in my mind, to raise more money, I would rather merge with Sugar Creek and have my taxes go up that way than to pass a levy or institute an income tax.
So, the big picture is with growth, you can eventually replace income tax levy. So when you have additional growth, you do not receive more dollars.
Right.
So you do receive more dollars when you replace existing millages, and that's called the setback. So you have the current valuation of the city today, you have the new construction that's not on there yet, and it will be on there before it gets reappraised, but then once it's reappraised, the value gets larger, so that same millage will bring more money in, but the only way to get that money is to replace it. There's issues with that now, because after the last local government funds got cut, you also lose homestead exemption, non-commercial tax exemptions, and tangible personal property tax setbacks that the state would no longer make up. So it's bad to replace them, because you're going to lose an additional 15, 20, 25% on top of the replacement cost of the new millages or the new values of the homes. Like I said, I would vote for it. It's a very complicated issue because there's a lot of moving parts. At the surface, you would think it does make sense because you got 2 fire departments, 2 police departments. There's got to be some economics of scale there. You're going to have one whole group that says, no way. They fought it the last time. Some of them are going to be down off of Middle Run Road and that area.
I would agree with that, although, and we've been talking just as citizens, is I feel like more people seem to be supporting it now than what they did prior. And I think it's because of the Cornerstone development.
I completely agree, and I think as what's happening is the townships now, I don't know, 8,000, we're 7,000. So those residents still don't like it, but all the new residents haven't been here long enough, and they, are more, it happened the first time. So the first time it failed. The second time, people got the realization that it is going to be annexed and that we have to do something. I'm not saying it's not feasible, it's just complicated and have to look at it again, because not only once you incorporate, then you get all the fun things of the EPA. You have storm, which we have to do now. You have stormwater 1, stormwater 2, and all those additional expenses that township doesn't have to pay now. Everything
Right.
from township doesn't have a city attorney. Now, we have one part-time because their attorney is a prosecutor for the county. They can't pass an income tax. We could pass one, it has to go on the ballot, we put that in the charter, but it's unlikely, because we're a bedroom community, that we would ever do that. So, just have to explain it and get enough signatures. I don't know, what is it, maybe 10% of the electorate?
I don't remember.
Is it 10%?
I don't remember.
I don't know.
I've
I
read
can't
so
remember
much
either.
law and case law and studies. My eyes are going.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it.
So I've been watching it. I mean, I'd be happy to come and, if we get a group together and talk to them.
Yeah.
I'm not against it. I'm not for it. I'd have to think it through. I went through the whole year
Yeah.
plus study. Would it come out the same? Dollar-wise, it probably would. Would people think that in long-term, maybe 10 years down the road because of the potential growth? Keep in mind that in development, if you're incorporated, you may or may not have more control over development. If we would take the property down here, there's a chance that we would be not required, but could be sued to make those lots smaller than they are now. So the city may or may not be able to influence the development even as much as the township, depending upon, because of the type of buildings that are around it when someone buys that property.
But if it, say that were to happen though, Centerville could not come in, so there's a piece of property that they're also eyeing past the one that they're in
Yep,
discussions
yep.
with right now in Wilmington Pike.
Yep.
It's about 90-some acres.
Mm-hmm.
If they annex that, I mean, if Bellbrook happened to own it, they cannot annex it.
Bellbrook, they can't annex it from us, the city.
Right, that's what I'm
So-
saying. So if there was, say we did hypothetically go through with a merger, and that
That's
was
correct.
now the city of Bellbrook, Centerville cannot annex it.
If you just get the merger passed, not even, they're done for, I think, air quotes, 3 years. They can't do anything.
Okay.
Just getting it passed.
Because, I mean, that's another concern,
So-
is if they do annex it, those kids still go to Bellbrook, and even with our own residents, our schools are overcrowded.
Actually, they're not.
Well, according
According
to
to
the
the
10-year outlook from
superintendent.
the school superintendent said that they are not, but that was.
There is one, there's one empty
that's not-
classroom at the high school. So
Yeah.
they had a higher number of new enrollees
Yeah.
this year than what they anticipated.
There's no question that
Yeah.
there's more growth and there's gonna be more kids.
Yeah.
Right,
So there's no
exactly.
But
question.
there is adjustable, that they have some plans for adjustment, because the superintendent has talked to the chamber and,
So anyway,
Okay.
let these guys get to chime in too, so I
Well,
don't
there's
have any
one-
more power than they do.
one thing I understand is that there's something, and I don't know what the number is, but there's something supposed to be coming up at the state level that would give townships a little bit more control over merger.
Yeah, and I
annexation,
haven't
and
followed it enough.
I don't know
House Bill
what it
20 or
is.
something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
But I
not,
don't know much about it. I just knew that it was in the works.
well, there's certain, for example, if we wanted to annex and take control of the Wilmington Pike property, we have to annex the park, the whole park.
Yeah.
And then we're responsible for, that island to get police there and fire there. Park can't say anything about it. That's another thing that a lot of people don't understand. You can annex a public entity without their permission.
Yeah.
So we can annex, Centerville did it to Washington Township. They annexed the fire department, or the building, to get the income tax. But, does that make sense? We worked with the township, I think, very well. We could have annexed probably, assuming the developers wanted, they did come talk to us up to the high school. But I go back to the whole double taxation.
Yeah.
So, back,
Yeah, I would say, I've joined your group on Facebook. And I would say that right now, considering a merger, I would like to learn more about the costs associated, the ancillary costs and the direct costs that are associated with the merger itself. Because I know that was one item the last time that was.
I think, I just off the top of my head, it was between 20 and 30 each.
Yeah, something
Now,
like
it
that.
probably would go up a little bit more,
Right.
so.
But-
And that group is more of a discussion just on like,
Yeah.
what can we do? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
is the merger the answer?
Sure.
Is,
It may not be.
it might not be,
Right.
you know,
No, I-
just
yeah.
trying to do something to
Sure.
keep Sugar
Yep.
Creek within Sugar Creek.
Sure.
Forrest?
Well, I think it's a good thing to look at, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah.
You have to have the answers.
Like the mayor said, there's just a lot of stuff to it.
It's a lot of moving parts.
a lot of
Yes,
parts.
there are.
And that's, so,
And one of them is the property owner's right to his use of his.
Yeah, I mean,
property.
it's clearly, there's a, yeah.
Zoning.
That conversation have to take place where we have more time to explain all of that
Yeah.
and some of the issues with
Yeah.
why and why not it was annexed last time and all that stuff. That'd be a long conversation. But I'd be happy if you're gonna get together someplace.
Yeah, we are. We're getting together at the high school on November 7th
November
at
7th.
7 o'clock.
Okay.
Be there.
Just to talk about what can we do,
Yeah.
are there options?
Sure.
So,
Be there.
Well, thank you very much for coming out.
Thank
you.
You did the right thing and
we're trying.
so, is there anyone else out there? I see Louis running. You got the camera on yourself now?
Got everybody up here.
All right.
You should move down the other end.
I'm Louis Schatzberg. I live at 4082 Ridgetop Drive, and the merger study was a big issue the last time it came up. I would have been part of that committee had I been selected, but I wasn't. The thing of it is, I think at the end of the day, what they figured out, the good thing about Bellbrook, the good thing about Sugar Creek, they both have a fire department, but they have a lean fire department. Together, they work together. They have to work together on mutual aid. The police department is the same way. I don't believe when they looked at those departments, along with the street maintenance departments, I believe when they looked at all those departments, yes, there's duplication, but I don't believe there was enough duplication in there that would do any savings.
Right.
Because I look at it today, we have people in these positions that will still need to be there tomorrow because of, if we merge, we have all these other roads that we have to
Yeah,
take care of.
We're one deep on those
Yeah.
departments.
Correct.
The only
And-
position would be the chief.
Correct, both of them, I mean.
Yeah, two
But you would
chiefs.
still, with with this big of a jurisdiction, then you would still need the chiefs
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
take care of the area.
Yeah.
Because now you got a bigger area to take care of.
You'd only need one police chief and one fire chief instead
Yep,
of two.
we-
That would be the only
Well,
savings.
yeah, but you would have to probably make other adjustments along with the
Yeah.
rankings. and
Like you
everything.
said, it is really complicated. I know
Right.
you sat through a lot of the meetings
Oh,
last
yeah,
time.
yeah.
But it may be worth,
Well, I think at the end of the day, when they looked at everything and looked at the roads that the township doesn't pay for today, that the city would have to be absorbed along with the bridges, I believe that was the biggest impact right there.
they'd
Yeah.
also receive additional, they would get a bigger chunk of gasoline taxes.
Oh.
But it wouldn't be enough to offset a lot of
Yeah.
it. So. But like I said, I don't want to say too much about it because I'd have to review the report and I can't
Yeah.
remember it all 9 years ago.
It was
And then
too long ago.
also tonight, thank you all for honoring Bob Watermelt for his service. I feel he did the community a great service because I had the privilege several years ago when he was doing the DARE program to go up there and tape the DARE program for him when they did the graduation. And the kids just loved him. They come in and, hi, Mr. Laudermilk, hi, Mr. Laudermilk. And they treated him like a king. It was really neat to see
cool.
the bonding between the kids and the police department in that situation, along with everything else that they do throughout the year. So that was a good tonight, too. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Louis. Anybody else this evening? Don't see anyone jumping up. Does any other member on council have any other additional business to come before us at this?
You got it.
Oh, come on up.
Hi, everyone. I'm Trish Evans. I live at 4051 Clarkston Drive. My concern about the merger, is my approach would not be so much a merger. I know you've got the cost of the roads and all that, but about an option, yes, it might cost Bellbrook a little bit, I don't know, but something that would prevent the annexation along the perimeter, Bellbrook, Kettering, Centerville of the township, where we could do something like, what's it called? Shoestring or flagpole annexation, where you're just running up an edge. It is legal.
A buffer.
It is legal. But you've got some constraints on it. The benefit to Bellbrook would be that, assuming the township citizens would be very vocal about their thoughts about development, that it could sort of be slowed down. Or, I know years ago, there was a rule that it had to be 5-acre lots.
In a township?
Yeah, in the township.
In certain areas.
Yeah, south areas.
Right, but I mean, if something like that could be passed again, and they could be prevented from being forced to put in these high-density housing, that would benefit Bellbrook, because we've got all this influx of students. And they are the biggest cost to us from a property standpoint.
Well, I think one thing, while the issue is we're currently pretty much built out, Bellbrook.
Right.
So I'm not gonna say we're never gonna annex the township. And I can't guarantee if we annex the township, even that we wouldn't do high-density development, because depending on what's right next to it, we could be forced to do it.
Well, that's something you brought up before. I don't understand the force to do it. You're taught what? That you mean because the
They would,
developer?
in theory, if the adjacent developing standards are X amount of size, that potentially, if we didn't, because you're in the city now, and depending on what is zoned in the city, we would have to allow denser development.
Right. But, I mean, take for instance, Swigert Road. The housing on the Bellbrook, the Beaver Creek side is nowhere near the density that they're wanting to put in there. So, in that situation, they couldn't do it.
What, I know for a fact the township and the trustees will want the least dense that they possibly can get, and without losing, believe it or not.
I don't believe it, but.
Yeah. But at the same time, you understand the problem. If you look at the Greene County right now, you're gonna see the DP&L has a strip of land around the Dilly property. So DP&L, but they're still contiguous, that in theory, Centerville could annex Park. And now, why would they do that? They wouldn't. But Sweet Arrow, yeah,
Sweet Arrow.
because and the Park District couldn't say anything about it. There's not a word they could say about it. And it would be in both Greene County and Centerville and the township, because type 2 annexation stays inside the township and the county.
But Bellbrook could also annex that.
No,
not the whole park,
we
but-
can't get to it.
Why?
We're not contiguous.
We're
You
not
have to be
contiguous.
10% contiguous.
I thought it was only 5%.
Okay, I don't know. We're not that either.
Well,
We have to touch it somewhere.
oh, right, but I'm not saying to jump it, I'm just saying you just build a perimeter from us.
We have to have the,
We have to
we
have
we have to have
pathway.
someone give that to us.
Right.
The property owner has to
Right,
approach
the
us.
property owner
Has to approach
Has
us.
to agree.
Well, in theory, they're supposed to approach us.
We can't approach that,
But a citizen could approach them and say, is this
yes.
acceptable to you that this strip of land goes to Bellbrook?
I mean, I guess I'd have to see it. It's very difficult, because believe me, we've sat down and looked at all the kinds of ways to get to the Dilly property.
Did you investigate about the shoestring or the?
No, I'm not sure what that is. I mean, I understand the theory, but we would have had to go to a number of property owners to get them to be
Right, right.
annexed to Bellbrook,
Yeah.
and that was unlikely. Because they're not gonna go in the city on 10 or 20 acre lots. Not where you,
Who's not going to?
most people with 10 acre lots or 5 acre lots, which we would have had to go through, they're not going to be incorporated in the city, because then they'd be controlled with all their burning and shooting guns and all the other
Oh, yeah,
things.
yeah, I'm not talking about you're taking over the whole property, I'm talking about you're taking a sliver of it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something,
You'd have to,
I'm not gonna say because I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. That's an attorney question, not above my pay grade. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you.
Any other? Okay. Does any member on council have any other further business to come before us?
None, Mayor.
None? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.